Don, training this morning, can you give us an update on how Daniel Talia went?
Yeah, he did a little bit this morning. He'll do a bit more tomorrow, and then we'll assess him from there.
So at this stage, he'll be right to play Sunday?
Well, we'll probably name him tonight, and then, as I said, we'll assess how he moves tomorrow morning. And as I said all along, if he's not right, we won't risk him. If he is, he'll come and play.
It's the sort of thing with him where there's not a whole lot of point in resting it because it would take a few weeks to heal 100% anyway.
Yeah, look, it's probably it's a minor ankle strain, and so it's just really a matter of how it settles down and how comfortable he is and how restricted his movement might be. As I said, he did a bit today. He'll do a fair bit more tomorrow, and we'll make a call from there.
Sloan and Walker too?
Yeah, they both train. Yeah.
How tempted are you then to go with an unchanged lineup yet again?
Yeah, well, we'll consider that. I mean, as I said after last week's game, I mean, one of the challenges this time of year is to go into the final series with good form, both individual and as a team, and also the right preparation to be ready to play, because we then get a bye into a final, and I'm pretty strong on making sure we keep playing. As I said, if there's no risk on guys playing, we'll keep playing.
Are you enjoying the continuity?
Well, I think the players enjoy the continuity. I mean, the players train to play, and they like to play, and playing gives them the feedback. It gives us feedback and opportunities to learn about our game. And last week's game against Sydney, we learned some things there, and you learn every game you play. If you don't play, of course, you remove the risk of getting injured, but you also remove the chance to actually learn something and get better, which we're still striving to do, to make sure we're in the best possible shape individually and as a team for the finals.
But having said that, does that week off before the finals is it a good thing or is it a bad thing in your eyes?
Well, it's a thing. It's whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a thing we've known about since the start of the season, and so we adapt around the time. We've already started doing some planning around what it looks like through that time, depending on when we end up playing. That's the other thing at the moment. We don't know, where we'll play our first final, what day. So we've got to work our way back from that and plan our training and our loads and volumes.
What is that planning? What can you do in that time period?
Well, we can, we'll see how we come out of the game on Sunday first and foremost. And then once we find out when we're playing, we'll sort of work our way back in terms of the volume of training we need and require to get ready for that game. So, but we won't be sort of sticking our feet up for a week. We'll be getting ourselves organised to recover from the game and then get set for our timing into our first final.
Alistair Clarkson's been quite scathing about the week off. Says it disadvantages the top teams. Yep. Do you believe that to be the case?
Yeah, well, I can see where he's coming from with that statement based on what happened last year. And it's only 1 year in with the bye, so I think we probably need a little bit more sample size, if you like, to see how that works. I think, again, like all rule changes, the clubs will adapt. And last year was unusual because you had two teams who won in the first week of the finals, neither made the grand final, which is highly unusual. And I think some of those sides, who had that last year would probably approach it differently this year to try and avoid that circumstance. So, that's something which we take into account with the scheduling. It'd be a nice problem to have.
Don, do you have a best 22 in mind for coming weeks?
We're really working on a best 22. We probably think more on, our best side is based on form. And we're fortunate we've got some guys who returned to play Samford last week, and Andy Otten will come back in and play this week as well. The reality is for the next 6 weeks we need a number of players, not just 22. It's often said that it's not teams that win finals and grand finals. It's squads, and we've got some guys who are going to be important to us because in this game you're only one or two injuries or hopefully not suspensions or anything else away from requiring and bringing in some new fresh players. So they've got a really important role to play. A, in terms of pressure for spots, but B, in terms of striving for those opportunities for when they present to be in really good form and ready to come in and just play their role.
In terms of that though, does it make it tricky that the sample side isn't going to be playing in the finals, and so if you've got to call players up, might not play their game for 2 or 3 weeks? Yeah, well, that's one of the things we're looking at the moment. I mean, our sample side's still potentially a chance, depending on results this weekend, so they haven't been completely ruled out as yet. But then we'll look at exactly how we manage the players who, say, don't play on Sunday. In terms of through that first week, will be fine. Then after the first final, we'll look at what we can do there to keep them in some match condition. How do you keep them in match condition? Do you simulate games or get local players in?
Yeah, we've got a few options we're looking at the moment.
The slow starts, what have you done to address them this week?
Well, the slow start really last week. Look, and as I said after the game, there was credit to Sydney. I thought we came out in reasonable. I thought Sydney came out very strong, and we were a little bit unders in the area we wanted to be, but as I said, to the players' credit, they rebounded. And again, important, great test, great opportunity this week against West Coast. Important you start well on the road, and so we spoke about that, and we understand that in big games of footy, you can't afford to hand up a 3 or 4 goal lead, and that's a good opportunity to rebound in that space come Sunday.
Don, what are your thoughts on Jake cancelling his media commitments?
Well, that's obviously a decision that he's made in conjunction with his management, so I don't really got a comment on it.
Is it a concern that he might see it as a distraction?
Oh, look, I think in terms of the contract side of things, to be honest with you, probably the last couple of weeks, we've sort of moved on. I mean, if we've got something to announce, we'll announce it. Otherwise, our focus is clearly on playing games of footy and winning games of footy in what is a really exciting time of the year for us. So our focus is different.
Can I ask you a general question then on a bit of a broader point then? In terms of a list management sort of perspective, do you have a philosophy on paying someone to achieve something now or with an eye to the future? Where do you see that sort of thing sitting?
I don't really want to get into list management side of things. The reality is you weigh all that up when you assess everyone on your list and you recontract any player. That's always taken into account.
Tom, just going back to your best 22, best team, best squad, where does Kyle Hartigan fit in after a week or two back in the SANFL?
Yeah, well, look, Kyle's a guy who played a lot of, clearly was in our main side until he was injured against Carlton, and is an AFL player. So, he's missed a few weeks and unfortunately had a minor setback coming back from that injury, but we see him as an AFL player who's, gives us that flexibility. He can play tall, he can play small, and so, we'd be looking for opportunities to get him in the team, but he's not on his own there. There's other guys with Paul Seesman, Wayne Miller, who we also see as AFL players, but as they say, 25, 26 doesn't go into 22, so it makes for some good discussion at match committee.
Is it purely a case of him and Alex Keith at the moment, I suppose, fighting for that same role?
Oh, well, yeah, Alex has played some good footy coming in, and Hardo's only been back for 1 week, so he's had 1 game in probably about 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks. So we're also mindful of making sure we get game time into the guys that are returning, whether it's Kyle Hartigan, Cole Cheney, Andy Otten coming back this week, Curtly Hampton's coming back for his 2nd game. So these guys are all going to be really important for us because they've proven they can play at the level, but we need to make sure they're available and in good form for when opportunities present, or if guys lose form, then they're ready to go.
Sorry.
I was going to jump in and say...
Jump in on
Go on,
man.
No, I was just going to say, dropped the ball against West Coast round 23 last year. Has that been a focus not to do the same again in the West this time?
Oh, look, our focus this week is to go and play a brand of footy which we want to take into finals, and the result becomes important for us because winning's a habit, and we want to create good habits, and we haven't really spoken about last year. It's more about us making sure we return to playing good winning footy, which gives us the confidence going into finals.
Currently enjoying a 9-day break. How are you managing the players' workload in the lead up to finals with that?
Yeah, well, it came at a good time. We had a couple of back-to-back 6-day breaks, so it's allowed the players to probably freshen up in the early part of the week. It's allowed us to get a couple of genuine training sessions in, so we're able to train Tuesday and today at slightly higher volume than we probably did on the previous 9-day break. And that's important because players are conditioned to train and to play. We've got to monitor the volume and the intensity of how they train, but ultimately that's how they respond the best. So it's been good that we get a little bit of a break early, but then we got 2 training sessions in, which sort of sets us up well for the weekend.
Don, just to clarify what you're sort of talking about the list management stuff before, is the club still in negotiations with Jake Lever and Mitch McGovern right now, or have you put off contract discussions until the end of the season?
Again, I'd probably prefer not to keep talking about that, to be honest. Those discussions are ongoing, and as I said, if there's anything to report or announce, then we will.
But you haven't actually put them off to the end of the season, though, or they're still on, like you said, still talking, still hoping to get them signed for the end of the year?
It's still happening.
Do you understand the fans' sort of hesitation about the last bloke that put off a few media commitments, ended up winning a Brownlow at Geelong? Do you understand why the fans might be...
Look, I understand it. I understand the if you like, the speculation or opinion around should they, shouldn't they, all those sorts of things. I get all that. The reality is we deal with what happens internally, and we deal with the players, and we deal with the situation as it is. And sometimes that's time, and sometimes that's other things. But again, to continue to opinionate it or speculate on it doesn't help us, doesn't help the players, and certainly from a team viewpoint, our focus is clearly on winning this weekend, leading into the final, so we can give ourselves, which would create a great opportunity to do something as a team. And the reality is that's where our focus is going to be. Everything else will take care of itself.
Thanks, guys. John, can I also just ask, why are there so many closed training sessions? Why aren't we being allowed to come in and film like 10, 15 minutes of training?
Well, we have a number of open sessions. When you guys came in the other week, didn't you, on the Friday?
A couple in a month.
Oh, it's probably a combination of, again, we look at it from some of the things we're working on at training, working on managing our list as well, and understanding that, often, access into training creates a whole range of other discussions on things which, again, can be distractionary for us, as well as some of the things we're working on from a team viewpoint, which we want to have some focus on without external distraction. So, no offence. As things start to evolve, throughout the final series, I'm sure we'll have some more open sessions.